Hello, hello, hello. It's Monday. Hi, Ruth. How are you? I hope you're good. I hope you're doing well. Hey, Linda Renz. Good to see you. Hi, Rhonda. Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. I am glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here. It is Monday. It is. Oh, I'm looking for. Oh, it's over here. Wrong spot. Linda, tell Tim that his package don't get his hopes too high. But I finally got his envelope in the mail. So, and I saw your comment on the last stream that you were watching from the balcony. Hi, Connie Kane. So, I am tickled pink when you let me know that Tim is watching from the balcony, and so are you. That's great. I know the roll tide got rolled, huh? In contrast, the Tigers did not. That was nice. Anyway. Oh, good. Tell him to watch for it. I wrote him a card to explain what I sent. So if it doesn't make sense, let me know and I'll explain further. They did. They played the heck of a game. I discovered something. My tolerance, not tolerance, I will tolerate a lot, but my enjoyment of football is 3 quarters long. Quarter number 4 is not my favorite. Because it just lasts forever. I think. Maybe not. Anyway. Hello, Peggy. Oh, goodness, you guys. I have been busy. Anyway, I got some new napkins today. Like I need new napkins. I did, in fairness to me. Because I have to be fair to me. I got rid of most of the napkins that I owned when I moved. I thought, I'm just going to start over. I am tired of sorting and figuring out what to save and figuring out what to throw away, which meant that when it came time to look for Christmas napkins to use in this, I couldn't find any. Anyway, I got some new ones I will show you today. Hello, Amber. Man, the gang is all here tonight. I am so happy. Now all we need is Barbara Clark, and we're all good. Not really. I don't expect you guys who are mods, who get paid the big bucks, I don't expect you to show up. I'm just grateful when you do. Okay, so let's see. First of all, what do I want to show you? I'm going to ask you, so you can be thinking about it. You don't need to write it in the chat yet, because I'm probably not going to read the chat. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. You never know. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you a choice about what I can do tonight, and I'll let you all tell me what you want, what you'd like to see. So for the moment, I'm going to set the journal off to the side. I did get a few new little things. It's amazing how when you're doing a journal like this, a themed journal, how everything you just all of a sudden all this stuff shows up and you're like, oh, I should get that and I should get that. And thankfully it's not expensive. The stuff I was getting. Anyway, I went to Walmart today because I had to get some other stuff. And I had to go to the card department because I needed to get a card. And in the card department, they had these little stickers, which are pretty cute. I haven't even opened them yet. Let's open them. I kind of did like this. I kind of did like this, you know, and then looked on the back and I thought, yep, those will work. I'm not a huge sticker person, but they sure make life easy. Oh, I have to tell you something funny before I go on. Double your pay. I can pay you anything you ask, Ruth. Tonight, just for tonight. And it has to do based on your current salary. Double it, triple it, quadruple it. Anything you ask, I can do tonight, but just for tonight. You borrowed gnomes for Christmas cards. Good for you, Amber. That's great. Oh. You'd rather be here than doing what you're really supposed to be doing? Or what you're really doing? Okay, I'm having a little coffee to just sort of... It's been a race. It's been a race today. Anyway, oh, I was going to tell you. Finally, I sent a box to my great-granddaughter. She was here a few weeks ago. The little 4-year-old. It was on her, she was going to turn 4 the next day after we streamed. I'll show you what I sent her, because I had to get one for myself. And it got there Saturday, and so she opened it up. They called me on FaceTime and opened it up. So this is what I got for her. And I bought them from Amazon. You can get them lots of places, but I got them from Amazon. They're Woody's, 3-in-1, 18 pencils, and they're meant for kids, but they're really good for adults too. And so I got these pencils. And I'm telling you, who doesn't want this set of pencils? Let's see if I can get them to come. Here they are. Look at these. I mean, really. Now, the thing that makes them kid-friendly is, first of all, the size. Okay, first of all, the size is... It's really good for little hands or old hands. You see, that's why they're good for anyone. The color core is big and it's really sturdy. It also comes with a brush, and it comes with its own special pencil sharpener because you have, this is, put away from kids. I'm not sure that a 4-year-old should have these, but as you saw her working with me that day and with her mom, she does a really good job. Anyway, in this set, there's silver, gold, white, flesh tone, pink, purple, red, orange, yellow, yellow-green, green, teal, aqua teal, a blue like a cerulean blue, a blue that is more like cobalt. This is like ultramarine. This is a deeper purple than this one. This is a red purple. This is a blue purple, brown, and black. Anyway, so I got those for her because she loves to draw and color. Oh, sorry about the horrible noise. She loves to draw and color. And then I sent her to go with these because, as exciting as this might be for me, it's not that exciting for a 4-year-old on first glance. I sent her, I don't have them here, but I sent her some of, I'll show you just a couple of these. I sent her a bunch of these, actually. I sent her a whole baggie full of foam stamps and they were ones that I had used. So she's going to get a piece of gram in what she's doing. But you can color the foam stamps with the woodies and then activate it, spray them with water to activate them because they are water reactive pigment. And so I sent her one of these continuous spray things. Now, my guess is, I have not heard back from her mother. My guess is this is going to be the thing she's the most excited about because I think she is going to spend lots of time squirting her baby brother. Don't you think? I think. That's what I think. Is Becky here? Hey, Becky. We got Becky. Almost all the mods I have appointed are here. Becky, it's good to see you. I watched your journal page this morning. Your fall journal page. That was neat. Yeah, that was neat. Becky's on really, really, really early in the morning. I couldn't even have my eyeballs open at the time Becky streams. I'm telling you, I always catch the recording. Anyway, I think, what do you think? Do you think this will be the most popular item in the box? I think so. And then because baby brother was going to be involved in the whole affair, I sent 2 Matchbox cars that a car dealer gave us when we were there getting a car service. And the owner of the dealership came out and he said, "Do you have any kids?" And I'm like, "Well, we got, great grandchildren." And he said, "Well, here, give these to them." And so there were 2 that were identical. And my little great-grandson, who is, he's 16, 17 months old, maybe 17 months, is now doing car noises and stuff. So he has 2 identical, they're absolutely identical trucks, one for each hand. So that way he can vroom vroom and yeah. Anyway, we're going to find out. If my granddaughter shows up, her name will show up in the chat as Kristen. If she shows up in the chat, you guys will have to ask her if Emily liked the sprayer or the woodies the best. Yeah, everybody gets a bath. And if they still had a dog, well, they do have a cat. If they still had a dog, the dog would get a bath, I'm sure. The cat, their cat, he is a funny cat. He's a beautiful tuxedo black and white kitty. But, oh, he's mean. Golly, he's a mean cat. He's a mean cat. Whew. Okay, meanwhile, back at Walmart. So I found these stickers. And I thought these were kind of interesting. So they're create a scene stickers. Not that I'm going to create a scene with them. But what I thought I might try, although these are very glossy, they're like cardstock. It's like a cardstock background kind of thing. There's several of them. Okay, there's a house and there's this. First of all, these can be used for inspiration, for sketching something. Or I'm going to try copying them and just to see if they'll copy. This is very glossy. I may spray it with a matte finish first and then try copying it to use elements of it, cut out elements, and that I can stick in the journal. I think that could be fun. But then there's all of these stickers back here. Cute little sticker embellishment things. And so I thought they could be really cute to use in a journal. And they weren't expensive. It was, I think, here, $4.99, and I'm not sure that was the price of them. It might have been less than that. But anyway, that's what's in the pack. So I thought it was pretty cute. And then this one, this was 285 Christmas stickers Again, labeled $4.99, but I'm not sure that was the price. But anyway, there's the stickers in the back. I liked this one because it had numbers, calendars, and parts of Santa Clauses. And this reminds me of one of those puzzles, you know, the ones that are square with numbers. I don't know what you call them, and you move this and move that, and you're trying to get the numbers in order. That's what that reminds me of. Anyway, I thought they were cute, just cute little stickers to use in you know, whatever, journal, card, what have you. And then I made the mistake with going by the napkins. I was having trouble finding Christmas napkins. And look what they had. The Grinch. I think those are so funny. I think they're adorable. Anyway, I have enough Grinch motifs to use to last for quite a while, actually. And then this set was really cute Christmas napkins. I thought those were really sweet. And I showed you last week, anybody that was new to this kind of journaling, that you can use a paintbrush and water and you can cut images or pieces and parts out. And there's enough snow people on here and greenery and stuff that, you know, you can get and snowflakes. You can get a lot of mileage out of just 1 or 2 napkins. And again, they weren't that expensive. These were $2.99 or $3.99 or something. I don't know. Anyway, I thought those were really cute with their knitted scarves and a knitted hat. That's cute. There's a lot of detail in that artwork. Hobby Lobby has an explosion of the Grinch. Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah. 15 puzzle. I don't know what's 15 puzzle, Miss Ruth. There are 15 number. 15 puzzle. That's what that thing's called that goes like that. I didn't know that. Okay. So anyway, I got those things. Now, so I'm getting quite a little pile of stuff established here. Just as I find things, I just put them together. And actually, on the floor here beside me, I have a plastic basket that's about, I don't know, 5 inches tall. And it's about 2 feet by 12, maybe 15 inches. And then so I just keep putting stuff in that basket. Anyway, another thing I got today. I met a friend of mine for coffee this morning. We meet once a week. And this was the cup. you know you're sick when you bring home the cup that you had coffee in. But anyway, I brought home this cup, and this was from Panera, but it had some really simple little illustrations. And if I don't take a picture of it or bring home the thing, like even the word cozy, that's a really good idea. Fireplace, little mittens. I don't know what that is. A bowl, I guess, of something. I don't know. A bowl and a spoon. I don't know what that is unless it's pasta. That's probably a sandwich. I don't know. Maybe bagels. But there's a simple snowflake. Anyway, it just had some good little ideas on it. So I sopped up all the stuff and then brought it home. And I thought, I'm just going to stick this in my idea file. You know? Hey, River City Creative. Is that Deborah? Is that Deborah? Let me know. Becky, I know Becky's making a handmade advent calendar and she's going to be giving it away next Tuesday at noon. USA only because the postage is insane. Is it Deborah? We'll find out Let's see if I remember. I might not. I might not have remembered right. So if you guys want to have a chance to get the advent calendar that Aunt Beck's Creations, which is Becky, is doing, be there. You have to be there. I did hear her say that. You have to be there on Tuesday at noon. Panera is the place that they have the bread bowls. They make a bread bowl and they cut the top out of it and fill it with soup. Yeah, Becky, absolutely. It's really good. They have some good soups, but I like their French onion soup. Okay, so let's go back to the journal real quick, because what I want to ask you is what you want me to do tonight. So we'll go back to the journal. So this is, oops, sorry, that was a little far away. There we go. This is the journal that we've been making and putting together. And this is going to be the title page, which I thought I would get the letters and the words and numbers and whatever on it, and I didn't. And the orange scones are good. They are good. If you like orange, their orange scones are good. Yes, they are. Anyway, we did that one. This is the page we did with pieces of napkins that we collaged on here. Various kinds of napkins. We did this little gnome, this little guy. And then we did this one on last time we were here, Friday. Did River City say it was Deborah? Am I saying the right person? If not, do correct me, okay? So I'm testing my memory. So we did this little guy and just painted him in. So he needs to be, it is. Oh, I am so proud. I'm so proud of my memory. Deborah, I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen your name in chat for a long time. I'm glad you're here. And I'm really super glad that I remembered your name. Because you and one other person that used to be here all the time, I get getting the two of you confused. I don't know. I'm not going to say it, otherwise I'll confuse myself again. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. So anyway, we did this little guy. He needs to be outlined. And so we have that. And the other option, one option is to finish this, which won't take long. And then to put this little guy, base coat him in and start painting him. Or the other thing we can do is I have believe me, this is enough fabric to do yards and yards and yards of something that, hey, Joyce Boring, good to see you. Yards and yards and yards of fabric, which we won't do. We will just do little pieces to make trims to go in the journal. So whatever we don't do tonight together, I will do on, what is today? Today's Monday. I'm telling you, life has just kind of, everything's kind of come together to where I don't know what day it is for sure. Anyway, so I'm going to let you guys choose. Do you want me to paint or do you want me to do a sewing thing? You tell me. You vote in the chat and we'll see what the majority says. I kind of know what I'd like to do, but I'm going to let you guys be responsible for the decision. What's easiest? Either one's easy. Yeah, either one is. So it doesn't matter to me. So I'm just sitting here having a coffee until I see Rhonda says so. Joy says do what you like. It doesn't help, but thank you. Oh, you know what? When I unpacked my stuff a couple weeks, it's been a couple weeks now, I found this little vase. You guys remember this little vase? One of the things that Claus Man used to do, because he knew that I liked feathers, because I've used feathers for examples for all different kinds of things. This feather I picked up one day when I was walking. I mean that, no wonder they used to write with these. It's probably an illegal feather. I probably should not have it. But it's so beautiful. Do you guys remember these? Yeah, you guys got to vote. You guys got to vote. Anyway, when Claus Man would go out and walk, he would bring back, if he saw him, he'd bring back a feather. I didn't save all the feathers, but I saved a bunch of them. And although I don't like blue jays, I do think their feathers are beautiful. And they're really nice. If you see feathers, if you like feathers, they're really nice to collect because you can see how you can see the shape. I'll hold it against my shirt. You see the shape and you see the random spacing, the randomness of it. Rhonda collects feathers. Yeah. But, you know, even if they're blue jay feathers, they're all different, you know? Anyway, so I just started poking them in this little vase. I don't know why, but anyway, I hope I don't get cooties from them or something. I mean, this one is just such a cool feather. Look at this. I'm going to show you this up close. Look at this feather. It's got all of the, whatever these are called, I don't know the technical term. It's much more on one side than the other side hardly has any. Isn't that something? Anyway, fascinating. Fascinating to see how feathers are created. Anyway, I just thought, and I unpacked them and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And I thought, oh, I think I'll just set it right there. The gnomes win. Okay. All right. We're going to do gnomes then. All right. We'll do gnomes. We'll do the other one on Friday. You think that's a wing feather? I figured somebody would know more than I do about that. And that's good. That's good. Okay. Let me get my thing that elevates my book, and then let's see if we can get this where you guys can see him. Okay, all right. Okay, well, we're doing gnomes. No matter what, we're doing gnomes. Let's go for an 01. Do I want an 01 or an 03? 02. Oh, an 02 is a good size. Okay. Let's start with an 02 on this guy. I think he's really cute, honestly. I think he's pretty cute. Let's do him. Now, I was going to try and do it. This is a really bad angle for me. Let me show you. This is straight down from my desk, so I would be doing like this. This is the angle that this is at when I use this camera. But the color is the best. So if you don't mind, I'm going to turn the book back where my hand can do this, and you guys can turn your heads. You can crank your head. I think it's better for you to crank your head than it is for me to crank my my hand. I'll come in a little tighter so you can even see a little closer. Even though you're going to have to look kind of, as one of my friends says, you're going to have to look, yeah, because it's yeah. That's what's her favorite expression. Anyway, okay, let's start at the top and let's outline this little guy. So, you guys, my house is sold and closed. Yep, my house is all sold. I got the check on Friday. Until I knew for sure that the house was sold and had it in my hand, you know, I was still kind of, shall we say, uneasy about the whole thing. Because you just never know. You never know what can happen, right? Alright. So I'm just going to come through here and outline this little guy. And I'm doing it purposely, kind of scribbly. On purpose. And you know, I thought I would tell you while I was doing this stuff, I thought I would tell you how I felt. Not that it makes any difference, but I thought I would tell you how I felt when that experience was over. Okay, so that's the edge of his face. Alright, this is his little mouth. Let me finish doing this and then we'll chat. Easier for me to chat while I paint, I think. I'll tell you how I expected to feel, then I'll tell you how I really felt. Thank you for celebrating with me. Thank you. Thank you. It is good. It is good. I'm going to use, because I have many of them, I'm going to use a napkin. Are these the ones? Yeah, I have plenty of these. I'm going to use a napkin to put my hand on. I have plenty of them, so. It is easier when you do this kind of stuff if you don't try to be too meticulous. It is better to be scribbly than it is to worry about being precise when you do this kind of stuff. Now, if you want to make the outlines just perfect and smooth, then hey, go for it. But I prefer to just kind of go with the flow here and let it be a little on the scribbly side. Alright, we're going to put in his little closed eyes, because the one thing we're not going to do is we are absolutely not going to paint open eyes on gnomes. Alright, I'm going to go to an 005, which is a tiny little nib. It is so tiny that you can hardly even see it, right? And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to hold my breath as I outline the dots on the trim of his hat and his robe. Now, once I get into this bigger area of trim, I might outline the zigzag part, or I might not. But I'm just going to go around the dots because I want to. He needs some more cheek color very badly. His cheeks are not rosy enough. We're going to have to give him a little cheek color. I don't know why. Oh, I know why he doesn't have any cheeks. I jumped the gun. I should have done the shading. I didn't do that because I wasn't paying attention. In my head, I thought all I had to do was the outline. That wasn't true. So it's a good thing these are permanent. The Pigma Micron pens are permanent, because when we come in here and we shade him, hopefully the pigment from the pen does not run on us, because I really should have done the shading first and then the outlining last. That's okay. We'll do it and we'll learn something together, won't we? Because if it runs, for some reason, if it runs, I will wish it hadn't. Alright, let me give this just a shot of heat. Is it better than a plop plop fizz? You would love to know how I felt. You have a hard time letting... Oh, you want to know how that felt. Yep. Yep, I will. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. See, my brain went straight away from what I said, and it went straight into felting. Oh, yeah, it's been that kind of day. Yep, it has. Okay, so let's take a piece of palette paper, which is a big fat mess, but there's still some room, and so I'm going to use this room over here. And we're going to do some shading on him. So I have some brushes here ready. I have a variety of brushes, and these are not expensive brushes at all. Not at all. They're just inexpensive brushes, because acrylic paint, for me, ruins brushes no matter, even though I clean them out. I clean out the acrylic brushes right after I get off the air. I go clean them out and I'll still ruin them. So, you know, I learned my lesson, and that was just don't buy expensive brushes. So I don't. They're not, it's not like watercolor. Now, if you were an acrylic artist, that's what you painted with all the time, that would be different. I don't. So I just mostly play at it. My house was a relief. Okay, let me get some colors out here. And all right, that is. I have to pick what's on my desk, because otherwise I have to get up and walk over there and dig in my paint cart, and I certainly don't want to do that. Alright, let's use some, we're going to use forest green. I don't know why, just because. So we're going to use a little forest green, and we'll shade his hat, which is kind of, it was Sea Breeze. Yeah, it was Deco Art Americana Sea Breeze is the color of his hat. And then I mixed a couple of colors to get the color for his robe. I mixed green tea and Sea Breeze together, And I got the color for his robe. And so I'm going to put out a little bit of forest green to use as a shading color. I'll see if I like it. If I don't, I'll pick something else. And I'm going to get out a tiny little bit of burnt sienna, also by Americana. It is not my favorite shading color, but the other one that is my favorite shading color, I have a hard time finding anymore. I don't know if they still make it. My favorite burnt sienna was from the company Folk Art. And I haven't found that in a long time. Folk Art also had a wonderful gray called Soft Gray, and I used it all the time. And I have a hard time finding that. So, you know, paint companies change things. Darn them anyway, you know. All right, I'm just getting a brush here. I need two brushes. One to put the color on, and the other one to have just water on. All right, so let's go, and we'll talk about as I get going here. So here are my two wet puddles of paint. This is the forest green, and that's the burnt sienna. So the first thing I'm going to do is I think I'll go ahead and shade his little face. And so I'm deciding which brush is my best one. Okay, this one is definitely the best one because it is holding the bristles together. This one, on the other hand, is a very scruffy brush. That is not good, so we'll use it as a water brush. Okay, dipping the brush in the long part of the angled brush in the water. The brush is wet, but not too wet, and it's a Goldilocks moment. And I blend it on the palette, and then I'm going to come across. Doesn't have quite enough paint. There we go. All right, I got some kind of paint booger right here. Let's see. There we go. Got it. And then I'm going to come over here on this side. The dark color is going down where his face tucks in behind his mustache. Okay? Oh, he looks better already, I tell you. Golly. I don't know what happened to my brain tonight. Anyway, all right, let's do. So this is the same process I'm going to use in shading everything. So I'm not going to, hopefully, if I can stop myself, I'm not going to talk you guys through every step of the shading process, so I can just talk about other things, okay? So you just watch and just enjoy watching. How about that? So we went on Thursday to the closing company, and I signed all the paperwork. This is the first time that I have sold a house myself. So I've always been involved with doing that with someone else. So it was a bit nerve-wracking, to say the least, for me, because I didn't know what I was doing. Thank God for Elton, and I do mean that. If it hadn't been for him, I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Sometimes when you shade things, you have to come back and shade them again later, but don't go too far the first time, because if you go too far the first time, you just end up piddling around too much, and then you end up taking back off what you put on, and that's not good. For his little cheeks, I'm going to use Tomato Spice. That's my favorite cheek color, so I'm going to put a dot of that out on the palette and let it sit for a minute while I do something else. To shade his beard, I'm going to use this, what is this, Fawn, to shade his beard and his mustache. I'm sorry about my giant arm in the picture. Okay. So anyway, so we went in, signed the papers, you know, and okay, this is how long I've been involved in dealing with the changes that have gone on since I first got married. Okay. The way that we bought and sold property, and I've lived in a number of houses because Claus Man was a contractor. So he would build a house, we would move into it, and then he would sell it out from under me, and then we would go, you know, sell it to somebody. Then he'd build another house, we'd move into it. We did that several times. The house that I moved out of was the one that I'd lived in the longest. But what we used to do is call the bank, call the lender and say, we want to, you know, we need X number of dollars to buy this house. And they'd say, okay, we'll come, you know, swing by and we'll prepare the paperwork and you can sign, you know. And it required one signature. One from him, one from me. That was it. Now you sign paper after paper after paper. Even as the seller, you sign a lot of papers, and then you have to answer a lot of questions to make sure that you're a real human. Hi, Starla. It's crazy. It is crazy. Oh boy. I was in that house for 35 years. A lot changed in 35 years when it comes to that. Okay, so wait a minute. I didn't get the right camera. Here we go. Okay. So while I'm kind of waiting for his face to dry a little bit, I'm going to shade his beard, and then we'll put his cheeks on. So I'm going to use, because it's a bigger area, I'm going to use a bigger brush. Okay. So we signed the papers. I've never met the buyers. I really and truly don't. I don't need to meet the buyers. I'm okay with letting it be a mystery. I don't know if they have children. I don't know if they're, I just assume they're good people. I hope they are. There's not much I can do if they're not. Okay, let's shade under his little mustache. And if this paint, while I'm doing this, if this paint, drop my, if the paint here slops up over the outline, then I'll come back and I'll touch up the outline. Sorry, I let that paint sit just a little too long. So I was having to quickly kind of do my thing. Anyway, so that was Thursday. So I got all that done on Thursday. And then the buyers, because they don't have and it used to be when we would sell property, we would all be at the same table, you know, and then you'd sign one party signed these forms and the other party signed the other forms, and he shook hands and walked out, and everybody was happy. They don't do that now. Now you go separate times and sign separately. Don't, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, things have changed. That's the point of this story. Things have changed. And so they told me, the realtor told me, my realtor said, well, the buyers do the walkthrough tomorrow, which was Friday, at 9 in the morning. And then at 10, they will go and sign the paperwork. Okay, well, I can't really explain to you how nervous I was Friday morning. But I was nervous. I don't know why, but, you know, it was this anxiety thing of, what if they don't sign? You know, I'm trying so hard to be trusting and not being successful. I'm not being successful much at all, to be quite frank. I'm just telling you the truth because that's how I felt. You know, because I keep, you know, 9 o'clock happens, and I'm like, okay, they should be walking through. They should be walking through the door. You know what I mean? They should be walking in the door. They should be, you know, I wonder how long that takes. I wonder how long the walkthrough takes. And I just torture myself. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so we have his little beard and his mustache. Those are shaded. I'm going to come back and do some highlighting with some white paint here in a minute. So anyway, and then the realtor had told me I'm going to do the same thing with this forest green. We're going to see if we like this color for shading on the aqua and on his coat. So we're going to find out. Do I like it or do I not? Let's find out. Let's try it on his hat first. Because sometimes when you do, if you have colors that don't go together real well, I mean, these are, I'm fine with how these colors look together. But sometimes if you look at it and you go, I don't know if these look good together, you can use a similar or same shading color, and that will bring it together. So I put the shading on, come back with just a damp brush, and then blend that inner edge, which I've said about 12 million times over the years that I have been demonstrating painting here. And the way that I do it is not necessarily the only way to do it, folks. It is the way that works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that is a-okay. So Friday, then, you know, it was a really good thing that I had planned to stream. I'm going to float this again. And I'm getting ready to stream, and I stream at 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday, right? And I'm like, okay, so I'm assuming that it's based on how long it took me to sign my papers, that, you know, it shouldn't take all that much longer for them. So I've successfully tortured myself thinking about the walkthrough and all that stuff. I'm definitely going outside the lines here a little bit, which will lend more of the folk arty feel. So I'm going to kind of do a little bit more of that here and there. Go outside the the lines a little bit more, so let me do that real quick. Because if you're going to do it once, you need to do it more than once. In the words of the great Shannon Green, once is a mistake, several times is an effect. That is true. So we're going to give him, we're going to pretend that he has, that this little hat of his is kind of like velvety, right? And I can come back and kind of mess up the outline a little bit more. Okay. So about 20 after 12, I'm like, I got to figure out, you know, I got to know one way or the other. I got to know if they signed or if they didn't. Because I'm expecting that I should have heard something from the realtor. And so, yeah, too much paint. So I text my realtor and I said, do you know if they signed? Do you know if the buyers signed? And he came back a few minutes later. Of course, those were long, torturous moments, I might add. I'm telling you. For anybody else, they're going to think I'm just totally off my rocker. I understand that. A few minutes later, he responded with, "We are closed," in big capital letters with a few exclamation points, and I'm like, ugh. So I was relieved, so relieved, and I'm so excited now. At that moment, I was so excited then he said the closing company will be calling you shortly about picking up the check. So I'm really excited about that, you know. And then I stream, and I keep expecting that they're going to call, and they don't call. Then my mind starts playing games with me. You know how that goes? Your head can play the most horrible games. Your mind is a very powerful thing. And it can drive you crazy. And it can calm you down. And it can make you nuts. And there's all kinds of things. Okay, now let's look at this, his little robe. Do you see the difference between this side of his robe and that side? Do you see how this side is flat and this side has more dimension? And his little hat now has the appearance of that there's a round head inside there. It's not just flat. That comes from the shading, okay? That comes from shading. So we're going to do the other side. I just wanted to point that out so you could look. Anyhow, so I don't hear anything. I stream with you guys on Friday, and then I even ran long. And then I got finished with the streaming. I know he's going to be upside down, and it's going to be hard for you guys to see, but hang in there. We'll get there. I get done streaming, and Elton was at a meeting out of town, and so I knew he should be back by the time I got done streaming. I get off the stream, and I don't know, somehow we communicated. I don't know if he communicated with me or I communicated with him. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And he asked me if the closing company had gotten a hold of me. I said no. So I think at that point he contacted the closing company because he uses them for other real estate things in his world. And well, they couldn't find the check. Okay, that is bad. That's some bad news right there. That is some seriously bad news that they couldn't find the check. I don't think he told me that right then. Anyway, I ended up going to the office, his office. By the time I got there, the closing company had finally let me know that the check was ready to be picked up. Okay, all of this time I am riddled with just trying to stay calm. Okay, because to me it's not real until I think it's not going to feel real. The thing is feeling for me. I don't think it's going to feel real until I have that, the check in my hand. And then I have all expectation that it is going to feel real to me. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of shading in right in here between his little shoes. Okay, and so there's our little gnome guy shaded. So now we need to do some finish details. First of all, he needs, I know I'm jumping back and forth on subjects here, but that's just how I roll. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the tomato spice red, which is already skinned up. Okay, there we go. And I need just the tiniest little bit. Alright, and then we're going to put some cheeks in here. We're going to put some little cheeks on top of the shading. So he has some little rosy cheeks. I like the rosy cheeks to go on top of shading. Okay. And then I'm going to put a little bit more rosiness on his nose because it's cold. Oh, he's looking better. Okay. Oh, he looks better. I like him so much better. Okay. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to put some white paint. I'm going to use Snow White. It's just white matte. El Cheapo Apple Barrel. He's so much better than he was. I do have to shade his shoes here in a little bit too. Okay, we're going to get rid of this palette paper because there's not much room left on it. So we're going to start with a fresh piece of palette paper. Palette paper is not that expensive that I don't have to save it. I am rather thrifty with it, but I don't let it rule my life. Alright, I'm just trying to get the paint boogers off of this bottle of paint. Alright, here we go. White paint. And now I'm going to use a script liner, which is a long-haired brush. This one, I don't know it's number 1, which doesn't tell you anything because the way that they number brushes is crazy. So I prefer to use a script liner when I'm going to do long strokes of something because this will carry more paint. So I'm using water to thin it. I go back and forth until it's an inky consistency. There's lots of paint, and then I twist it to a point. Okay, that's how I load the brush, and that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so I'm going to stroke in a few hairs. And you may or may not be able to see them. Hopefully you can see those. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side of his mustache. I promise I'll read the chat here in a minute. Right now, I'm not. And I grip the brush back on the handle a little bit. And sometimes I will come from the tip in. Because what I'm trying to achieve here is, I think you can see that. I'm just trying to get some little hairs to show up. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing. And if the paint decides not to work, I'll have to add more water, but I try not to do that if possible. Yeah, I'm going to have some more. We're getting there, but the danger is to turn the whole thing one color, and I have worked at not doing that, so I just want the suggestion of mustache and beard. I think that'll work. If you want to make the nose shinier, I don't think I did that on these guys. Let's see. I didn't even put any of the strokes of beard in either of those, so it's fine. But if you want to give his nose the feeling of shine, you can use a little bit of that white paint. And in the lightest part of his nose, but not in the middle, okay, the lightest part of his nose, you put a little dab of white paint. If you want to shine his cheeks up, you do the same thing in the lightest part of his cheeks, and you put a little dab of white. Then don't touch it because it's extremely wet. Do not touch it, just let it dry. Okay? The paint is matte, so it looks real shiny right now because of water. But let it dry. Just leave it alone and let it dry. If you go in with a heat gun right now, you're probably going to splat it and make a starburst. You don't want that. So I am holding the book up because my book is tilted. I don't really want that to run. I want it to dry. Okay, and then I'm going to shade his little shoes with a little bit of burnt umber. Okay, while this is drying, we'll go back and I'll just talk to you in person for a minute. Let me look at the chat. It's so right. Rhonda says, Barb, let go and let God. It is so much easier to say than it is so true. Yeah, I mean, I can preach to the choir with the best of us. Believe me. I know all the things. I know all the things. I've said all the things. I believe all the things. And then your heart and your mind can still screw you up. I have discovered that. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so I go in and I meet Elton, and I think we're going together to go get the check, and he had something come up at the last minute, and he said, you're going to have to go pick it up. It was real close to his office. And so I go over and I pick up the check. And as much energy as I had put into being, thinking about this, being anxious about it, being, telling myself to calm down, doing all the things I know to do, because I know plenty of techniques to Somehow I splattered white paint in my glasses. I know all the things. But sometimes it's still, sometimes your head and your heart, you know, it's the distance from here to here that gets you in trouble. And so I go over and I pick up the check. This check that I have waited for and been concerned about and negotiated over and all the things. And I pick up the check that I have put so much thought into and all the other emotions. And then I stood there and I actually went to my car and I sat there and I looked at it. And I thought, this is a flippin' piece of paper. That represented 35 years of living somewhere. I traded that for a piece of paper. And that was sobering. That was very sobering. I didn't expect that that would be my feeling. And I'm just being honest with you, because I'm sure there are people out there that have had similar feelings. And they kick themselves or beat themselves up, or whatever expression you want to use, for not being excited or not being, you know, whatever, fill in the blank. Okay, his little things are dry. Highlights are dry enough. See, when the shine goes off of them, and you're looking at it super close up. Let's zoom out on this. Okay, from a distance, that's how it's going to be. So you see how shiny he is? His little highlights on his cheek. And I won't do it to all of them, but I will do it to some of them just because I think it's cute. Okay. Anyway. Okay. And it's not, going back to this discussion, it's not that I did not want to sell. It's not that I regretted selling it. It's not any of that. Okay, so for his little shoes, all I'm going to do is shade the bottom of his shoes with a darker brown. Okay, I'm just going to shade the bottom of his shoes. But I was just so surprised at the feeling I had. It was actually, to be quite frank, a very empty, odd feeling. Okay, so here's our little guy with his little shoes, and he's all shaded. And I think he's pretty cute, and I think I can live with him. He may need a little more color on his little lip. I know that I'm going back and forth in my thought process and doing this with you guys, but I, believe it or not, am pretty much keeping track of what I'm telling you. All right, I need to pick up a little bit of the pink, or the tomato spice red. I'm going to mix a little white into it. And I need a little bit more than that. I don't want to make him look like he has on lipstick, but I need him to look like he has a lip. Okay, it doesn't look quite as much like a lip as I want it to. Okay, so now he looks like he has a lip in there, to me. Okay. So, from there, from that moment of picking up the check until probably about this morning. So that's Friday, Saturday. Unfortunately, we were really busy on Saturday. That helped. Until this morning, I had the unexpected pleasure, and there were much of it that was pleasure. There was some of it that was not pleasure. But for all of that time, I spent what happened was I had a movie going through my head. I don't know if any of you have ever had EMDR therapy. Rhonda, to tell you the truth, I was surprised myself, and I'm very grateful. Very grateful. Okay, let's set that to the side for a moment. And this little guy is done enough that I can let him sit. It doesn't mean that I won't come back and do some stuff with him. But there he is. He looks so much better with the shading. I'm so happy that I realized that that's what I needed to do. Oh my goodness, he looks so much better. Don't you agree? He looks better. Oh, bless his heart. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to touch these. These should be totally dry. I'm just making sure. Okay, he looks much better. He's going to be fine. Okay, let's whip over to this page. So we're going to set him to the side. We're going to come over here to this guy. Okay? Now, one of the things I need to do is I need to weight both of these pages with some just clothespins. Okay, I'm just putting clothespins on it because that puts some weight on the pages to help keep it open. And I know you can't see the sketch of this little guy yet. We're going to switch to the other camera here in just a second. But here is our little gnome kind of Santa guy. This is on Christmas Day. That's what he's going to be. So I'm going to let him take up this page. You know, I'll have some space around him, but I'm going to let him take up this page. Okay, so let us get out some colors while we're here. And so we can paint him. So I'm just going to get out a couple of colors of paint. So this is Santa's Flesh. This is a Delta Ceram Coat color. It honestly is called Santa's Flesh. It is the only color I use for flesh tones. I've tried lots of different colors, and that's the color I like. Okay, so I'm going to get that, and then I'm going to get this white, which is vintage white, which is, and see, there's a folk art color, so I should be able to find those folk art colors I like, because I bought that not very long ago. The red color that I will use for his suit is going to be Delta Ceram Coat Tomato Spice. That is my red of choice. As far as the greens and stuff goes, I'll deal with that later. Okay, just to get you, just to let you see kind of the way that I'm going to start here. Okay, and I'm going to be zoomed in pretty tight so you can watch as I keep on rattling onward, as I'm quite honestly just processing with you because I've been processing with myself. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to fill in his little face first, and then I'll do his beard and mustache. Usually I do the beard and mustache first, but it doesn't matter really. Okay. Yeah. So from Friday night all the way through Saturday, all the way through Sunday, until this morning, I had a movie. I started to say if any of you had EMDR. EMDR is a therapy that when I was going through some counseling with a psychologist years ago, she had me do EMDR. And at the time that I did this therapy with her, I was pretty desperate for just finding some sort of relief, I think would be the word. And she had said to me, she wanted to try this with me, this therapy. We did it twice. I will never do it again. It was very effective, but for me, it was very difficult. And she had said something about post-traumatic stress. Okay, this is how dingy I was. I said, I thought that was something that veterans went through. Veterans experience, like people from the war. And she looked at me and she said, yes, but that's what you're experiencing. I didn't have a clue. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all ancient history. But EMDR, one of the things that the point of this story is that EMDR, they have you like experience whatever the story is that you're basically stuck in. You're experiencing that story as though you're looking through the window, like you're sitting on a train, and you are experiencing the story, but from a safe distance, and so you're watching the story out the window of the train. Or a car, doesn't matter. Anyway, that was the thing. That was the deal. And there was way more that went into it. But it doesn't, the details are irrelevant because it was a long time ago. The details are irrelevant. But that is as close as I can relate to you what was happening over the weekend. For me, it was like going through that EMDR experience. Okay, that's going to be part of his hat. That's the brim of his hat inside. I'm just talking to myself because I want to figure out my own drawing here. And, but it was a non-stop, it was like a non-stop movie for me of 35 years of living in that house. So it didn't have to do with, the being married, the marriage relationship. It had, but, of course, we lived in that house for a long time together before Claus Man fell apart. But it was like the movie just would not stop. But every so often, it was like the train would stop and I'd have to, just think about or look at or experience the most random memories, just incredibly random things. And then realizing that all of the pets I had, were gone. All of the people who lived in the house with me were gone. Now, my son is not gone, but he's been gone from the house there for a long time. He hasn't lived in that house for a long time. You know, it was just, and the only reason I'm telling you this stuff is, I probably to prove what a nut I am. Probably to tell you what a nut I am. Okay, so we've got his little pom-pom on his hat. We've got a little trim on his hat. And now we're gonna come down here and paint his little mustache and beard. And I forgot to put his little mouth in, so we'll have to stick that in. Use a different brush. Saturday afternoon, the best part about Saturday afternoon was that Elton wanted to clean out the front flower bed in front of the house. And there is nothing like physical work to kind of distract you from yourself, and that was great. So we pulled weeds and we loaded spent flowers and vegetable plants and all that on the trailer. And it doesn't look like a huge flower bed until you start pulling stuff out of it or weeding it or whatever. And it's a pretty good sized flower bed. And so we did that on Saturday. And then, so that was really good. Although I haven't conditioned my body very much. Do any of you know what happens when you bend over a lot and pull weeds and stuff like that a lot that you haven't done for a long time? Do any of you know how your body reacts? Maybe your body doesn't react the same way mine does. Any of you know what that does to the back part of your legs, like your hamstrings? Anybody of you know what that does? In case you don't know, it can make the back of your legs so sore. I'm telling you, the muscles in the back of my legs are still bothering me. Like when you don't realize how much you use a certain muscle group until it gets real sore, or irritated, and then you realize how much you use that muscle, like getting up from a chair, going up steps, getting up and down off the pot. You use those muscles a lot. And the longer they went, the more I'm like, gosh, at some point this has got to get as sore as it's going to get, and then that'll be that. And then I kept wondering, how sore were they going to get, those muscles in the back of my legs? Because man, oh man, I soaked in Epsom salts and all the things. Whew. Doggies, let me tell you, they're still sore. My legs are still sore. Okay, so we have two parts of his little mustache. Do you see his little mustache there? Yeah, so it was really good that we did that, because I needed that distraction. I really did. And by feeling the feelings in my muscles, it took my head out of some of the feelings and the stuff in the emotional stuff I was having to deal with. But one of the things I realized, and I've known this for a long time, you can't run from your feelings, because they're just going to be there when you finally stop running from them. You just kind of have to experience the feelings. You're better off to experience them and move forward. Because if you don't, they are so patient. Because I've tried to run from them in the past, and it doesn't work. And your feelings are your emotions are extremely patient, and they will just simply wait for you. You can't leapfrog over them. You can't distract yourself enough to do any good, because all of it just simply waits. And it can be, if you try to ignore the feelings or distract yourself in whatever manner, you can do that for years, whatever that looks like to you, and they will still wait for you. The feelings will still wait, and you still have to deal with them. And yeah, so you might as well deal with it at the time. So I let the movie run, and there were moments when I would get pretty quiet, where there was a pretty intense part of the emotion happening. I get pretty quiet, or just kind of internal, go to the internal spot, and you just kind of have to deal with it. And it's either that, or it's going to wait, and you're going to have to deal with it sometimes. So you might as well just wait till it's over. And you know what? After 3 days, it was over. Okay, this little area of his there's a little tiny curl on his beard. And so we're going to have to switch to another little brush again, a little round brush, to fill this in, because I cannot get in there with that little flat brush. Even though it's pretty small, I'm just going to have to go with the little round brush. So anyway, that's where I've been emotionally. And did I know that was going to happen? Nope, not even. Did not have a clue it was going to be like that, but that's what it was like. And so I thought I might as well tell you all that's what it was like. Yeah, so it was like a 35-year movie of memories over the course of 3 days. And you know what? When you go through something like that, nobody can help you. You just have to deal with the deal. And it was very sobering to realize that I had traded 35 years of memories for a check. And then once I verbalized that and wrote it in my journal, I went, oh, okay, I see that now. And all of the relief that I felt came at a different time, The relief I intended to feel or expected to feel, that came at a different time. Isn't that wild? Anyway, let me finish painting this. I'm obviously not watching the chat while I'm doing this, because I can't watch the chat and try to paint. That is, by the way, how I started streaming. I started streaming painting the wood carvings, and in order to do those paintings, you couldn't sit there I couldn't sit there and not say anything. And so that was how I started streaming. I was painting, and then I'd tell stories. You know, whatever stories showed up in my brain, I would tell stories. And that's how I got started streaming. And I didn't even know I could tell stories. And I think my storytelling stuff that whole thing came from those, because I did that for years, streaming and painting, because we would do, Clausman would do the carvings starting in September, August, well, sometimes even in July, depending on how many things we needed to get done. And then he'd get the carvings done, and then I would stay up late at night and paint them, because I always had as much time in the painting as he had in the carving. So it was very much a dual effort, I guess would be the word. So I couldn't watch the chat because I couldn't see, you know, if I was watching the chat, then I wasn't getting anything done. So I would paint, tell stories, and then I'd take a break and look at the chat. So it's not radically different than what we're doing tonight. Pretty much the same thing. But I thought, as I reflected on all this stuff today, I thought, yeah, I think it might be worth sharing that story with you tonight. Because some of you might be going through something similar, or be faced with going through something like that at some point in the future. So it would have been handy information had someone said to me, now don't be surprised if this happens. Now, who would know that that would happen? Who would know that would happen? Anyway, okay. All right, let me come back. Confession is good for the soul. Oh, okay, let me come back here. I'm just scanning back through the chat. Okay, there I got back to where I'd seen it before. Okay, I'm just going through the chat here. I'm not a nut, I'm human. Thank you, Amber. Elton did give me something else to think about. He certainly did. Yeah, Starla says you're correct. Emotions are the most patient thing in my life. They are. Yes, they are. They wait. They will wait. Okay, I'm just, all of a sudden I skipped. Okay. Okay. All right. I think I got, oh, you're welcome, Starla. Elton says, imagine living with a storyteller like Barb. Hey, Dorothy. You remember me doing that? I bet you do. Barb's a human nut. That's right. A human nut. Okay, so let's go back here. And so we have this little Santa gnome figure. He now has his face and his beard and the parts of his, the white fur parts of his outfit. Okay. And let's do, let's paint in, I'm going to paint in his, he's holding a wreath. So I'm going to paint in his wreath, and I'm going to use, let me see, I need a, what is this? Oh, citron green. Yeah, let's use citron green. We might use that with a touch of forest green, wherever that went. Here it is. I love citron green. This is one of my most favorite colors for many things. Now, I don't want to paint my house in it. Definitely don't want to do that. But it is just one of my favorite colors to use for so many things. I don't want to live with it, but I do love this color. Okay, so I've grabbed citron green and a little bit of forest green. That's just something that fell out of the lid. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to start up here at the top of the little figure, because he's got some holly leaves types of things. And so I'm just brush mixing a little bit of that, which is forest green, with the citron green. So it's taming down the citron green a little bit. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to paint these holly leaves right here. And if things go well, I will get different colors of green. Not just this one color of green. We'll find out if I can manage to do that. So then Saturday night, after we got, actually Saturday afternoon, after we got the flower bed cleaned out, then we had to get ready, and we had to go to meet our people for the football game, for the university football game. And so we met people for dinner, and then there were 6 of us that went to the football game. And our team won, which was nice. But the fourth quarter, yikes, did that last a long time. It lasted a real long time. Fortunately, we were with some interesting people that I didn't know, and so I'm going to reshape this leaf a little bit. Sometimes the leaves, holly leaves, yeah, sometimes I don't shape them very well. They're not my best leaf to paint, so sometimes I draw them a little weird. That one kind of falls in that category. Anyway, we had a really nice time. We had dinner, went to the football game. That lasted until 11:30 p.m. The game didn't last till 11:30, but it was like 11:30 when we were driving out of the parking lot or something. I couldn't even believe it. I hadn't looked at what time it was. Oh, that was a long game. Fortunately, we won. That made it better. And then we had to drive home. And yeah, it was good to have a distraction. The distraction proved healthy, because it gave me you know what distraction does? As long as you don't live in distraction, and distraction can be a lot of things. A healthy choice is go to a game. Distraction can provide you with a break. Just a break from the action. And by the action, I mean the running action in your head. It can give you a break, and that's what it did. It gave me a break. So that was nice. Yeah, that was good. Such is life, So I just thought I would share that story with you, because I thought you guys have seen me, many of you have seen me through a lot of things over the past however many years. And I appreciate that so much from all of you. And so I just figured, most of the time I share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this was none of that. It was just It just was what it was. It wasn't good, wasn't bad, wasn't ugly. It might have had some dicey moments here and there. But yeah, boy, I really have a strange shaped holly leaf right here. Well, the gnome went to the holly bush and he picked some leaves that no one was going to love, and so he picked them and stuck them in his hat. That's my story, and I'm sticking to that story. All right. Ooh, this is a tiny little leaf. We're gonna have to switch to a tiny little brush. Yeah, we're gonna have to go to a tiny little brush because this is a tiny little leaf here. By the way, do not let acrylic paint dry in your brushes, because if you let acrylic paint dry in your brush or brushes, you're going to be, if you haven't already, you're going to be investing in a jar or a bottle of Murphy oil soap. And you're going to have to soak your brushes in Murphy oil soap. And most of the time, you can get that acrylic paint out. Yeah. All right. Let's go to, I think we can go to a little bigger brush now, because this wreath down here is going to make more sense once we get it painted in. It's a wreath that has a ribbon that's winding around it. So, and as I have said many times before, this stage of painting, which is the base coating stage, where you're putting in the base coat of color, this is kind of like color. I used to call this the color book stage, and then that was before the days of the color book craze that happened, and we had this huge range of adult coloring books. And by adult, I don't mean rated R or X coloring books. I'm talking about adult as in adults images color books that came out. And then, so for me to say, well, this is the color book stage, was quite insulting to some of the people who are absolutely color book artists. So now I call it the base coating stage, because it's less offensive to people, and understandably so. All right, so we're going to put, and the better you do this at this stage, the better you do this, the better your finished result is going to be. It's like priming the wall. You really need to pay attention to this stage. Be accurate. Don't talk yourself into, well, I'll fix it in the shading stage. No, you won't. No, you won't. You're just going to make it, you're just going to make life way harder for you if you're not accurate at this point. You cannot fix it in the shading stage. The shading enhances what you've done here. Okay, and this is a hole in the wreath right here. This little piece right here, that's a hole in the wreath. And this is his little mitten that's cupped under the wreath. And yeah, so one of the things that the base coating does is it defines the areas of either the carving, if it's a wood carving, or if you get one of those, If you get any of those little plaster, I think they still do those plaster poured figures and stuff that you used to be able to get they just lined the shelves of the craft stores. It's the same thing with those. It's the same thing with even paper mache figures. It's the same thing. At this stage, the time that you spend accurately base coating the various parts of the figure, you will be it's time well spent. I don't know what else to say. All right, I'm living dangerously here, using a brush that's huge in an area that's real teeny tiny. I'm just using about 2 hairs of this brush to fill this in. And it's not too bad. It's not too bad. We'll see if we can clean this up just a wee bit. Okay, so you see his little wreath that he's holding? See how he's holding that little wreath? And so what's in that hole is part of his outfit, because part of his outfit will be showing through there. And then we have the ribbon that's going around the wreath, and then there's the ribbon with its tails fluttering in the wind behind him, because he's walking on. See how he's I mean, he is walking. Yeah. Okay. You stick the whole brush in the water and the handle is wood, it probably will crack. Oh yeah, they do. The paint comes off, the brush is cracked. It's not a good idea to leave your brushes in the water long term. The best product that I can recommend for cleaning your brushes is, I'm trying really hard not to groan. I'm not being very good at it. This is the best product that I can recommend for cleaning acrylic paint. It will also clean oil paint out of your brushes. You can use this, you can use pink soap to put, if you can't get your brushes clean, for example, you're someplace, I don't know, doing something and you gotta leave, you can use pink soap, wash them out temporarily, get as much crud out of it as you can, then put this pink soap in your hand, put that in the bristles of your brushes, and then go wherever it is you gotta go. Then when you come back to them, hopefully within, a couple of hours or whatever, then you can use the pink soap to continue cleaning them, and it will take the paint out of your brush. And it also conditions your brush. So anyway, that's what I use for cleaning brushes. If I have one that is really messed up, that's when I go to the Murphy oil soap. Rhonda's leaving. Okay, good night. Thank you for being here, Rhonda. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me send Elton a message if I can find my phone. I don't know if he's still listening or not, so let me send him a message. I'm trying to figure out how to spell a word that's not making sense to me. He'll figure it out. Anyway, okay. Now, do you guys want to watch me when I have to go places? I usually come back to a dry paint, but yeah, don't do that. Although these are not expensive brushes, I still hang on to them. Do you guys want to see me paint the rest of this little guy, base coat him in, or are you tired of watching and listening to me yammer on? Yeah, the Murphy Oil Soap is thebomb.com, and I learned that from somebody else. That wasn't my revelation. I learned it from somebody else. You want to watch the rest of this? If you do, I will paint. Continue? Okay. All right. Here's the deal. I'm going to keep painting him. I don't know what I will say. Who knows what's going to roll out of my mouth? You never know. I'm going to go ahead and keep painting him. If you need to leave since it is late, I understand. I totally do. All right, I'm going to base coat in his outfit with tomato spice, which I think I told you that already. It's the same color that I used to give him cheeks. Hello, Making Crafts. I'm glad you're here. I'm not sure what your name is, but welcome. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, if this is your first time here, bless your heart. That's what I have to say about that. I just need to get some more paper towels. I end up with this little wad of paper towels like this, okay? And this gets saturated, and so then I just get another piece and put on top of that, and the paper towels eventually dry out, and I keep using them, and yeah. Okay. A Murphy Oil Soap. Well, my chat just went totally blipped off the screen. Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. Got it. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know what I was saying. So I'm just going to use, this is tomato spice red. And I'm going to fill in his little hat. I don't know, I've tried all different kinds of reds, and I always come back to this one. I really like tomato spice. I just think it's a good red. This is watercolor paper, and even though it has a base coat of acrylic washes on it, it sucks the moisture right out of your brush. Really, really does. Alright, I'm going to have to drop down to a much smaller brush here in a minute to pick up all those little detail areas that I can't quite make the brush fit into. But I'm going to stick with this brush as long as I can because it lets me get done more quickly. Alright, I've pushed that as far as I can. So does anybody here watch Dancing with the Stars? Nothing like a subtle change of subject. I've been watching it. I don't watch it live. I watch it the day after. And I was watching it. I've been really interested this season because Steve Irwin's son, you know, the alligator, what was he? What was his name? Alligator, crocodile hunter. Wrong animal. Crocodile hunter. His son, who was 2 when Steve Irwin died from a stingray bite. Stingray. I don't know. Stingray. I don't know if it was a sting. Stingray sting. The word is in the name. Anyway, he's been dancing on Dancing with the Stars. For me, that has been endlessly entertaining to watch. And watch him dance. His sister Bindi was on and was one of the dancers several years ago. Anyway, I just wondered if anybody here watched it. I find it very entertaining. Certainly is. I don't dance, and so, I don't dance just because I don't dance. Okay, so we've got most of his little hat done. I'm going to fill in the details in here with this little round brush. And I watched, I think it was yesterday afternoon. Again, there are some things that are healthy distractions for me. One is any kind of creative show on TV that's a competition. There's a show that I watched called Blown Away? Anyway, it's about glass blowing. And there's a few seasons of it on Netflix, and so I was watching the Christmas competition, and it's probably real old, I don't know, and I don't really care, it just was good to have something in my brain. I'm going to reshape this leaf a little bit. This is just the weirdest leaf. There, that's a little better. Anyway, so I watched that, and that was really interesting, their Christmas competition. So I watched that. It was only 4 shows. If you like that kind of thing, I love to watch the bake-off shows, the British, what is it, the Great British Bake-Off? Is that what it is? Anyway, I really enjoy that. Any of those, cake artist shows. I don't do cakes. I don't know why I find it so entertaining, but I do, and so I will watch those. I love to watch those. Good cooking shows. I don't like the ones where the chefs yell at each other and yell at the contestants and stuff like that. I don't like that. But, a good cooking show, competition, I enjoy that. The ones where they do candy and cakes and stuff, I find, and that is their art form, I find that fascinating. Those are all good distractions because you can learn something. Okay, let's redo this little leaf, just a smidge. Okay, so we've got holly leaves and holly berries, and okay, let's go finish his suit up. I don't know what color we want to do his mittens. You guys kind of take a look at that and see what you think we ought to do for his mittens. Because I don't know what we should do for his mittens, what color. Okay, let's do his little arm over here. The old Iron Chef show. I like the one that they dubbed. They dubbed the, it was in Japan or wherever, and they would dub in the language, the script. They would, so it never matched, the dubbing never matched the lips. I always thought that was hysterical. I enjoyed that. Chef Morimoto. I don't know who all of them. Those guys, I found that very entertaining also. The biggest thing I can tell you about painting like this is make it comfortable for your hand, which is easier said than done when I'm trying to stream it. But that's why you see me move the book around and around. And when I was doing the wood carvings, base coating the wood carvings, it was the same thing. Man, those poor Santas were probably motion sick from me turning them on their heads and every other thing. But I would have to put them in such awkward positions to be able to get to the various parts of them. And I told him, I would tell those Santas, I'm sorry that you're going to have to stand on your head here for a while, but that's just as my son would say when he was little, that's the how of it, That's just the how of it. I think for Ruth, just for Ruth, we may have to put a purple ribbon on this wreath. What do you think, Ruth? You think that's a good idea? I don't even know if she's still here. That is Ruth's favorite color, unless she's changed. But I don't know what color we should paint his mittens. I don't really want to do green, because that's going to be awkward with the wreath. Okay, so there's his little arm. Need to reshape this a little bit. Okay, that's better. And while that dries just a smidge, I'm going to come down here and do his trying to keep the paint out of, or the book out of my paint palette. That's why I keep getting kind of off screen a little bit. I'm going to do his little breeches down here. Just because I use brushes that are big does not mean that you have to use brushes that are big. I just find them faster to paint with. Okay, there's one. Now, part of his coat is going to show through the middle part of the wreath. If I don't fill this in, I'm going to forget it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to forget that. And I just slopped red paint where it really didn't belong. So I'm going to kind of scooch that out, let the paper dry, and then when I paint the ribbon in, it'll cover that up. But this is against the side of his coat. And so you would see that through the whole of the wreath, the center part of that wreath. And believe it or not, that makes a difference when you do stuff. Okay, so I'm going to let that be right there, and I'm going to put in this part of his, I'm trying to get my head out of the way, but get this where I can paint it and you can see it. I'm going to leave a little crack, I mean a tiny little crack of space between those two parts of his breeches, because then I know where the division is between the legs, that which doesn't sound all that nice, I realize, but that is the truth. So I don't have to wonder which leg is in front when I go to shade it. Okay, so you can see that teeny little space there. That lets me know which leg is doing what. This leg needs to come up just a little higher. There we go. Okay, and now we're going to do the back of his coat, and I think that will be all the red parts that we need to do. I'm going to do the same thing around his arm. I'm going to attempt. Sometimes I'm not always successful at doing it, but let's hope that the painting fairy is with me tonight. I'm going to try to leave a little crack of space between the back of his coat and his arm. Just a little. Because that way I know where his coat ends and his arm begins. And I'm going to have to switch to a smaller brush because that one was just way too big. So we're going to come in here and I'm just going to use a little tiny round brush, the same one I've been using, to fill in the little detail things, the little detail areas. And hopefully you can still see. I think you can. Okay, I know he's standing on his head and doing all kinds of stuff. My paint's starting to get sticky. When that happens, when your paint starts to get kind of skin over, because it is just acrylic craft paint. When it starts to skin over or get sticky on you, you have two choices. One is get some new paint. The other one is you can get a little bit of water on your brush, but don't get very much, and mix that in as you go. Okay. Now, because these areas are really small here, I'm just going to continue painting with this little round brush, which I just don't like to do, but it's going to be, I think, the most efficient thing for us to do in this case. So let's do it. All right, if you have any questions or comments, you are welcome to put them. Let's see, what have I got here? Okay, all right. Sorry, I couldn't make out exactly what I had here. This goes to here and goes like that. Okay. For a moment, I had myself very confused. There we go. Okay. Sometimes that happens when you're painting. When I was doing decorative painting, this was back in the late 70s, early 80s, in the late 70s, I started learning how to do decorative painting. I was taking classes, and I took a ton of classes. And then I took a class on teaching decorative painting, and this was all oil paint back then. Now, what was I going to tell you about that? Wow, that just blipped out of my head. Oh, I know what it was. We were painting, it was some figure that had on a pleated dress or skirt. And so the teacher was teaching us, showing us how to paint pleats, how to make something that was pleated look pleated, okay? And for the life of me, I could not see the pleat happening. It just looked like a little basically a little tornado. And when I was learning to paint it, and I'm like, I just can't see. It was just so funny how when you can't see it, you can't see it, you know? And sometimes when you look at something like this, to figure out what line is going where is just a real challenge. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see how much more of this we can do. What color ribbon do you think we should do? Hi, Terry. Black to match his boots. Black for what? The mittens? You can't do red mittens because the red mittens won't show up against that British Best Knitter. I wanted to see that so much, and I haven't ever been able to see it. Where do you see that, Joyce? On YouTube? Blue or dark green? Maybe, let's see if I go too dark. If I go dark green with his mittens, if I go dark green with the mittens, then I can't shade them very well. The green is going to green isn't going to work. Now, what did we say about the ribbon? Anybody have an idea? Jacques Pepin. I loved him. Yeah. What did you say about the ribbon? Anybody? Anybody? I'm going to paint his boots. I'm going to do his boots with, I'm going to do the boots and the stick. I'm going to do with brown. So I'm going to use a combination of raw sienna and burnt umber to base coat in his boots and the stick. Again, you can't go too dark, because if you go too dark, you can't, there's no place to go to shade it. On his ribbon, I could do it with, I don't want that color. We could do it this color, which is like a yellow ochre. That might be a good color for the ribbon. I still don't know what to do for his mittens. They're not very big, so I don't know what color. Anyway, let's do the stick. We'll do the stick and the mittens. I mean, the stick and the boots. Sorry. Gosh. My brain, every once in a while, kind of goes off in its own direction. You know what I mean? And what comes out of my mouth is just it kind of surprises all of us. Okay. Sometimes it surprises all of us. Alright, so I gotta try to keep my hands out of wet paint. Fortunately, acrylic paint dries really fast. That is one of the less than desirable qualities of oil paint, is the fact that if you don't watch out, you get your hand right in it and you can wipe out hours worth of work. Whether it is fine art or not fine art, like decorative painting. Okay, I'm going to let the paper, which is kind of creating some divots in the stick here, I'm going to let that happen. He is getting to be kind of cute though. I kind of like him. I kind of like this guy. I did not put this one on the website. If you are wanting a downloadable pattern for these, there's a couple of the gnomes that I've done that are not on the site. If you let me know, I will trace them, scan them, and upload them for you guys if you're interested. I'm not going to take the time to do it if people aren't interested in it. Okay, come on. Just fill in. Here we go. All right, and then we have a piece of stick up here at the top. And the stick has been cut off, and so there is a rounded end up here, which again I'm going to leave a little crack between the edge of the rounded part and the stick itself. And then we have another little piece of stick that's going to be right here. It's those little detail things that you need to have, like the edge of the stick right there. Because if you don't have the edge of the stick right there, it doesn't make any sense to your eye. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay. How about a gold ribbon? I think I will use that gold. You guys think that's good? I think that's a good thing. Use this, which is like yellow ochre, which is, it looks lighter on the camera than it is in real life. Do you think that's good? I think that'll probably work. Fill in his little boots. I may finish up the ribbon off the camera. My brain and my mouth are getting tired of thinking and talking. These could be, because he's a little gnome, and we might do his mittens off camera too. These could be like deerskin or something. Boots. Who knows? when you're working in a book like this, hold your surface. So I'm holding the page with my left hand. Otherwise, it will bounce on you, and it will bounce up and hit your bristles of your brush, and you will paint where you didn't want to paint. So hold the surface, hold the page down, so that it is steady and doesn't move. All right, I think that will do for his one little boot. Let's do one more little boot, and then let's call it a night, shall we? And then I'll finish up the ribbon and his mittens. I'll try and get that done before we get back together on Friday, and I will be back here at 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And if you guys have any questions, let me know before we go. Otherwise, I'm just about to wrap this up for now. I know he's not totally done, but he's as done as my brain has the energy or the thought power to do tonight. Thank you for indulging me with my yakety yak yak tonight. But as I thought about it today, I thought, I don't keep a whole lot from you guys. And perhaps my crazy life will maybe help somebody somewhere in something that they're dealing with. That's my hope. Okay, so there's our little guy. The only thing he doesn't have is he doesn't have his ribbon painted in on his wreath, and he doesn't have his mittens painted in, but we'll do that. Okay? All right. We'll take a look at the other from the other angle, just so you can kind of see him all in one shot. Okay, so there he is. I think he's going to be pretty cute. And the other guy that we did was over here. There's the one that we did. Let me see if I can not get paint where I don't want it. So there's the other little guy that we finished up today. I like his shiny little nose and his shiny little cheeks. I don't want to paint them all exactly the same, So, yeah. Doing something like this, it's fun to experiment with different styles, too. Okay? It's helpful for you, Starla? Okay, good. Thanks, Macon. All right. I hope you all have a good rest of your night. Remember to do something nice for somebody else. Be kind to somebody else. Do something unexpected for them. You'll be glad you did. And I'll be back on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So until then, I'm sorry I kept you late tonight, but we just had a gnome we had to paint. So what can I say? All right. I will see you on Friday. Until then, as always, remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. And I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.